Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of No Vacancy Live. I'm Glenn Houseman. Anthony's on assignment today, but it looks like I got the best assignment of all. Now, before we get going with this amazing interview with Jennifer over here, who you're going to learn more about in a minute and wonder what all this stuff is about, it's important that I implore to you guys, go check out our friends over at Choice Hotels. You know they're the best place to invest your money in right now because of those Radisson brands that they just bought. You know what I'm talking about, brands like Radisson Blue, brands like Radisson Red, Country Inns and Suites. Your investment dollar couldn't be in better hands now that it's being supercharged by the Choice Hotels team. Give them a call, give them a love, and tell them we sent you over here at No Vacancy. All right, now to get on to what we're here for, this is Jennifer Tuft, and she is with Kaleidoco, the company that's doing an immersive entertainment experience where I am here in Las Vegas. A little show called Particle Inc. Speed of Dark, right? This is excellent. This is really cool. So we've been talking a lot about this metaverse and stuff and augmented reality and immersive experience. I guess the place to start is, let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about Las Vegas. Why does Las Vegas need this next generation of entertainment and experience right now?
Well, I would say Las Vegas is already well on its way to being the immersive hub in this country. There's an amazing immersive entertainment happening.
And this is before the Sphere opens.
Yes, and this is before the Sphere. It's growing, and there's a clear and very strong interest on behalf of people who are seeking new forms of entertainment and who are interested both in and out of technology to really experience story in the 360.
Right, and that is so critical, I think, right? As immersive entertainment is really starting to hit right now, we're seeing the first attempts at it at home. You guys all know what Zuckerberg is up to with Meta and the goggles and stuff like that. Honestly, I've tried it. I haven't loved all of that because I still want to participate in the real world. And that's why I think something like this is super fun. And the whole idea that you could go and you could have an experience that's much more than sitting passive in an audience and just watching is something that's really intriguing to me. Why are people ready for it now?
I think people have been trained more and more because of their smartphones, because of the way that they experience storytelling, to really dive in and to be part of the entertainment that they seek. So here we are, and I think you really just hit the nail on the head, because for us, it's all about bringing people to the doorstep of the metaverse through a physical environment. Staying in your community, staying with your people, but still experiencing the magic of digital entertainment.
I love what you're saying, being with your people. It's a way to experience something new. Now, the whole idea here at Particle Inc. Speed of Dark is it's kind of a concept that there's multiple showrooms over here, and you kind of move through the different environments and experience like little vignettes, right? And I love it. I could describe it because I read the notes and stuff like that, but that's not going to do me any justice. Now, but before we get into the show elements and stuff, I'd be curious as to how did you get involved in this particular world? What is it that excites you about creating different forms of entertainment that we haven't consumed before?
So I have been a transmedia producer for my whole career, meaning producing on multiple platforms and telling stories that reach people through different mediums. And the sort of pillar of that is original content, original characters, original stories, really building that.
I wish Hollywood would understand that, right? I feel like we're so devoid of creativity on that particular level that everyone keeps reaching back to what worked in the past and are creating poor facsimiles copies of it that don't hold up to snuff. So I think going in a totally different direction is where we have to really be going.
Absolutely. And it's really important to think about how are you going to be telling these original stories? How are you presenting these characters? And why are you bringing it to the world? And so for us, it's always been about my partner, Cassandra Rosenthal, and I came to this together. We saw it in its original inception. This world was created by the Light Poets, who are creative partners and creative geniuses, if I might say so. And, we've had the pleasure of really building their vision into what it is now. But for us, it's really about why immersive, why digital, why augmented reality, why projection mapping. There needs to be meaning and purpose behind the way that you present these stories and these characters.
And I think so many times people, again, get caught up with the technology aspect and they forget to realize that story is absolutely everything. If you don't have that fundamental part, then you're not going to buy into whatever experience is. And it's not going to be not just memorable, but you'll probably walk away feeling like it was a hollow experience.
In fact, we built this to be stepping into a living graphic novel.
Right.
It's living because it's changing as you're in it, and you also have the ability to change it.
Right.
But it is totally about story. And you cannot even own a smartphone. You can hate technology and walk into our experience. And it's magic that's happening all around you in the same tactile way as your everyday life. Mm-hmm. We really focus on that.
Right. Now, what's cool about this experience isn't part of one of those mega corporations that are up there down south from where we are here. In fact, you're nestled downtown in the Las Vegas Arts District. So it's a really nice extension of that. What I love is when the Life is Beautiful Festival first started here, it's got to be 7-8 years already at this particular point. My buddy, Craig Nyman, was booking the acts, and he brought in graffiti artists, I remember, and they started to really transform downtown and create it, make it so much more interesting to look at. And then you got Container Park and other elements that really created that. So I think it makes a lot of sense that you're down here, because it's almost as if the atmosphere down here was going to give birth to something like this inevitably.
Absolutely. I mean, I was raised in New York City in the 80s.
Right.
And the Arts District in Vegas really reminds me of what was happening in New York at that time. There's so much creativity is being born in this neighborhood, particularly. And, there's incredible food, there's incredible art.
Right.
We have amazing partners sort of all over the district that are supporting us, and we support them. And it's an incredible community.
Where'd you grow up in New York?
In Manhattan.
In Manhattan?
Yeah.
I lived at 90th and 3rd back in the 90s.
Okay. I went to school near there.
That's really cool. Were you at Hunter?
No, but a lot of my good friends were at Hunter.
I'm sure they were. And then once I hit my 30s, I got shoved off to Brooklyn.
Okay.
I lived there for a long time. But I love coming here to Las Vegas, because it's always, in my opinion, on the cutting edge of so many things. Now, some of you guys out there might disagree with me, but I think when it comes to food and driving creativity and now sports, it always seems to be ahead of the curve. And the last big trend was adding a lot more, I think, interactive shopping type of experiences. I think the Link is a good example of that at Caesars. It's really getting people more engaged in the process. And now with entertainment, this is the next iteration. But you were talking about story and why story is so important. How does that really play out into creating this experience? Because there are so many shows that I go to where it's just that you're supposed to be wowed by the images and nothing seems tied together.
So we are story first.
Yeah.
It's not even about how it ties it together.
Yeah.
It's at the heart. It's the nucleus of everything that we do, everything that we build in this company. And the story comes from the individual characters that you see and experience and interact with. And then there's a larger story of the experience that's happening. And the whole world of Particle Inc. is a narrative world. When you walk into this warehouse that we're standing in, this is an abandoned warehouse that an artist has taken over and is living here with his wife, and they're grieving the loss of their son. And he's inviting you.
So it's an uplifting show.
It actually is. It actually is, because another thing that's really important to us is that you can tell stories about grieving. You can tell stories about darkness. You can tell stories about your own inner darkness, and it's about accepting that. It's about loving that. It's about sort of rising within yourself to a point, where you feel your balance and your equilibrium. And, we really care about telling meaningful stories.
Right. Now, the show itself takes place in the 2.5 dimension, you say?
The 2.5.
The 2.5. All right, 2.5 dimension in what you call the liminal space between like being asleep and awake and that sort of stuff. And I think it's a really interesting theme, right? Because that's kind of like when you let go of your mortal self and you're entering this other type of universe, which we're stepping into here. So how do you put something together like this? Obviously, it's a lot of technology.
It's a lot of technology, but most importantly, it's a lot of creativity.
Right.
And a lot of heart. And this is this is not easy to do.
No. That's the thing. These things are very complicated, but when they come off easy, it makes you think that anyone could do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So go on. Tell me a little bit more about the technology.
Well, we don't really like to break down what's going on here, because we definitely want people to really be able to just walk in and experience this as magic. So it's important for us, like a magician never gives away its tricks.
Yeah. That's too bad, because I was going to spend the next 4 hours really quizzing you on all those little details.
Maybe off camera, we could do that.
But that's really cool. What type of crowds are coming to this particular show?
Really a huge variety of people, which is another thing that we're really proud of. This really, as you might be able to see from some of the visuals around us, there is the experience is a lot about nostalgia. It really takes you back to your childhood, or also to your inner child, and really accessing those parts of you. And because of that, younger people are really blown away by it, because of its magic, because of its characters, the art, the world. But at the same time, it's an extremely mature subject. There are a lot of references that adults will understand, and it's a really, really moving and impactful experience. So it's really, there's something for everybody. And again, you don't have to be a tech wizard, or I think it's really important, because people get very intimidated by the idea of a mixed reality experience. Or like, what am I going to have to do? What am I going to have to put on my body? What am I going to have to? You don't have to do anything,
because
there's
people
no middleware.
because people want to interact, but they don't want to actually do too much interacting. Right.
And I think it's important to let people, sort of control their own destiny and experiences. And people, if you want to get really involved, you can get really involved here. And if you want to just passively watch, you can passively watch. Right.
Now, that this is really where the future is going, because major companies like Disney are already doing this. All right, maybe it's a little bit more cosplay, but with the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge related hotel that they have over there, that's all about putting yourself into an immersive environment. Now, it's a better deal than $5,000 for 2 days over there. So I think that mainstream culture has really tapped into it, but the big companies don't seem to be able yet to understand it or wrap their hands around it in a way that's being successful. Point being proven. I'm sorry to bash an experience I went to last week, but I was in Chicago last week, and there was an experience for one of the world's most known musicians that came out of the United States. And it was the so-and-so immersive interactive experience. But it was really just like a number of museum sets, and you could take a couple of pictures here and there. And then they had like this room playing this artist's music, and it was supposed to be a big deal. They didn't even do anything like this. But they were selling it for $40, $50 a ticket. And I came away feeling let down. Like you're really not advertising it in the right way. Why is it that some of these companies just don't get it, where you folks seem to really understand this? It's got to go beyond just that simple storytelling aspect.
Well, we're starting from very different places.
Right.
So a lot of, I think what you're referring to, a lot of those types of experiences start from intellectual property that's franchised or licensed.
Right.
And it's about, how do we get as many people in the space, at a given time. And,
and I could understand that tendency, because a giant name, it's why you get A-list actors for movies, so you can have a big opening, right? Same kind of philosophy.
But we are telling a story that no one knows, that no one's been introduced to. Soon the world will know. But, for now, this is new to everybody. And so we take every single decision that we're making about how people are introduced into the 2.5 and what that means contextually, is we spend a lot of time on all of the ways in which we want to present. And again, this is also incepted from the partnership of independent producers, Cassandra Rosenthal and myself, and independent creators, the Light Poets. And, I think when you're able to start independently and really build something from the ground up, you have more flexibility, to create something that is, in fact, story-driven, meaningful, purposeful. One more thing I'll say is that Kaleidoco's entire purpose as a company is to create mixed reality experiences that within its core have a meaningful and purposeful application of technology.
Right. Yes. Getting out of that trap of having technology for technology's
Exactly.
sake. It's almost kind of like in the 1950s when they would make those schlock horror films. They come up with the poster first and then say, come up with a movie for this particular thing. And with technology, a lot of companies are like, oh, this is really cool. Let's figure out how to use it. But how long did it take to put together this particular show?
It took a minute.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working in partnership with the Light Poets for a few years now, but a lot of that was really spending time, building and creating this world, and making sure that we were making the right steps in the first portals of the 2.5 that we're opening up. And so, yeah.
So I bet you had some ideas that you probably thought were a little too far for where we are as culture right now when it comes to this liminal space that we're talking about, right? So you kind of have to figure out the right balance of what people can understand in a meaningful way, as opposed to just being a barrage of images and sensory senses.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I will bring it back to storytelling because
that's it's fundamentally it is.
And it's also, I think it's important to note that the people who are building and creating this come from storytelling backgrounds on multiple different mediums. So these aren't it's not like live event producers who get an IP.
Right.
It's storytellers who've been producing stories, film, in television, graphic novels, video games, that are coming together to build this.
So what was it about the Light Poets that made you say, we got to partner up with these guys?
When we saw they did an installation at the Sundance Lab in 2017,
What's
where they worked with the Sundance Lab. Sundance is
that the film festival?
The film festival people, the Sundance Institute, and they presented at the Sundance Film Festival. Sort of the first portal into the 2.5.
Right.
And when my partner and I, Cassandra, stepped into this portal, we were both completely blown away within a matter of seconds.
Right.
Having, produced original content for our whole careers, we know when we see something that is extraordinary.
Right.
And that might even be an understatement to what we saw. So the characters, you feel the depth of the characters, the lore, the art, the imagery that's being presented, and the way that it's being presented is really unlike anything I had ever seen at that point. My partner had ever seen at that point.
Right.
And we both were essentially convinced at that minute that, this was about to become what we were doing next.
Right. And it did.
It did.
So
gratefully it did.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. How does augmented reality and stuff like that play into not just this, but where we're headed to? Because part of what you're doing is trying to get people to understand that it's going to be a bigger part of our lives going forward.
Yeah, augmented reality is already a big part of our lives. I think people, anyone with a smartphone, especially anyone with an iPhone, AR is a really big part of that device. And, people are using it when they're shopping at IKEA, for example, or in real estate. There's a lot of, applications that are being used in AR today that might just seem a little bit more seamless. What does this couch look like in my room type thing?
Yeah.
But, for us, we are really focused on augmented reality over virtual reality because, again, we want people to stay grounded in the physical environment, but still be able to experience the limitless creativity of the digital world. And we're really excited by the combination of those two things.
Yeah.
And we believe that there's going to be a mass adaptation to augmented reality. And as hardware becomes more and more seamless, for example, the advent of glasses, I think it's going to be easier to experience augmented reality without taking yourself out of your.
I think that's going to be the big trick. And you're talking about the difference between virtual reality, which is when you put on the headsets and you're fully immersed in that, versus augmented reality, where it just adds a layer onto what we're experiencing here. For augmented reality, one really cool new application, I haven't been over there yet, but Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Osaka in Japan, they've got this Super Mario Kart ride. You put on the AR goggles, and you play the game with all the characters and stuff, but it's grounded in reality with real sets and all of this other type of stuff, which is kind of, I guess, what's going on over here without the glasses part of it. But I think that's where the win is going to be. That's where creativity is going to really be able to open up. Because when I put on those VR headsets, it's cool, but when I started doing some of those cocktail parties, it started making me sick, and I still craved being with people in person, right?
Yeah.
So how do you ultimately, what's going to be a real good use, creatively speaking, when we could just put on glasses and see it? Is it going to be that Pokemon game that was popular a few years ago come to life that way, or is there going to be something better when it comes to the entertainment world?
Yeah. Particle Inc.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. It's not gaming. I mean, obviously Pokemon Go is a huge success, so no knock to that. But it's not gaming for gaming's sake.
Yeah.
We are building a metaverse that comes from story that has a social purpose, and that is to connect people. That is we really. At the heart of what we do, it's fostering creativity.
Yeah.
So, the way that we will be using AR and, in our various platforms will be about fostering creativity, fostering discovery, fostering communal play, and again, everything will be narrative.
So how does that work? Because my brain is trapped in the old days where you go into the Legend of Zelda on your Nintendo game, right? And the whole atmosphere is there. But I think what you're talking about is being able to do it wherever I am in my world. So how do you go about building out stories that are applicable to whatever world people are actually living in at that moment?
We have a great team of writers.
Yeah.
And you just being really thoughtful, and being really strategic. So I mean, it's sort of a long answer, but I think those are the key points, and it's entirely possible.
Yeah. So what kind of checks do you do on each other's creativity to make sure that it's an idea that will work with audiences and is financially viable?
It's a collaboration, and we have a relatively large team, and everybody that sits at our team, their opinion is valuable. It matters. It's always a collaboration.
Yeah.
So, we throw, ideas, concept stories out there, and then we workshop them together to make them fit. And again, to make them fit for, how is our audience experiencing it? How are the participants experiencing it?
Yeah. And one of the things that I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, particularly if you hoteliers out there are thinking about traditional hotels. I see a lot of people in the hotel industry, which is my universe typically, that they don't look at themselves through the guest's point of view, right? They create a beautiful place, but then they don't go ahead and see if it's functional and it's the way that a guest is actually going to want to experience it. So obviously it seems like you're doing that sort of thing, getting to understand how people are going to experience it. But when it's something so incredibly new and different, you just have to go on gut instinct if it's going to work, because there's no track record for this.
Yeah. We have to believe in ourselves and in our experience.
Yeah.
We're seasoned veterans, this team, both in terms of live entertainment and in terms of story producing. So but we are the first, and we are forging a path. But we really obviously believe in everything that we're doing.
Awesome. Now I'm going to go and have myself this experience a little bit later. And the next time I'm on Friday Night Audit, which will be November 4th, next time we do that show, I'll tell everybody all about it. So tune into that. That's our cocktails and happy hour show over there. Tell us a little bit about how we could learn more about Particle Inc., Speed of Dark, where to find it, when it's running, all that good stuff.
The best way is to go to particleinc.com, which is our URL. It has all the information on the experience, and you can get tickets. You can also check out our handle at Particle Inc. Live on Instagram.
Beautiful.
Those are the best ways.
Great. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. Well, I'll tell you, I'm sure this is going to be absolutely great. I can't wait to see it for myself, and I'll tell all you guys about it. Like I said, Jennifer, it was really great seeing you here today. I'm very excited about all of this. What a cool backdrop. This might win coolest backdrop of all, and I've done some cool casino-related backdrops over here.
It's about to get a lot cooler tonight.
All right. Well, I can't wait. All right, everybody. See you soon. Jennifer and Glenn, thanks for watching No Vacancy. Not so